Good morning, everyone. A warm welcome to all the participants who have joined this webinar session today. This is the first training series in 2025, focusing on the training on Endpoint Central product. And in today's session, we are going to talk about the endpoint security features available in our suite of products. Let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Uttam, and I'm a product specialist working in Managed Engine Endpoint Central technical support team for over 5 years now. And my daily activities involve handling the consultation and performing troubleshooting for our existing customers, and also doing the day-to-day implementations of our product. So in today's session, we are going to focus mainly on the security functionalities available in our Endpoint Central. And once again, I welcome you all to this free training series. So in the past week, we have covered the patch management functionality available in our product, which focuses on identifying and handling the known vulnerabilities. By any chance, if you have missed attending the training session, you can visit our Endpoint Central free training website, where we have uploaded the recording of the previous week's session. So let's take a look at the timeline of this first free training series of 2025. So we are in the second week of week 6 training sessions. So the first week was focused on the patch management. In 2025, we have taken the initiative to split the endpoint security module training into 2 sessions. The first session happened the previous day, which was focused on the proactive security measures. And in today's session, we will be focusing on the reactive security measures. In case if you are interested to learn more about our tool, like focusing on OS deployment, learn more about the remote control capability, asset management, mobile device management, and many more, you can register for our webinar for the free training webinar series using the link mentioned below. And all the training series, all the webinars that we do will be recorded, and the training session recording will be sent to your registered email. And upon completing all the series of training courses, if you have attended all the free training webinars, you will receive a completion or a certificate of participation. And this first training series of 2025 started from Jan 22nd and will go on until March the 5th. So let us take a look at the agenda for today. So what are we going to cover in this free training session today? First, we will start with a quick overview on our Endpoint Central solution, and then followed by talking about how you can restrict the end users from connecting any type of unauthorized peripheral devices. Followed by that, we will focus on how you can protect the sensitive information present in your organization from getting leaked outside using our Endpoint DLP, comprehensive BitLocker management, handling of the non-compliant systems present within your infrastructure, and then we will focus on the malware protection functionality. So we have our own anti-ransomware and malware protection features available. So we will take a dive deep into them. And towards the end of this webinar session, we will be discussing about some frequently asked questions. So from the previous webinars, the normal questions or the generic questions raised by our participants have been collated together, and we will be discussing on them. And apart from that, we will also have a live Q&A. So we do have our senior expert team available on the chat panel today. So I would request all the participants, wherever you have any type of doubts or clarifications on the product, please just drop your query on the chat panel. My team will be very much happy to assist you with all the answers. So I'm going to pick a few questions during the live Q&A session to explain about the scenario and give the answer for all the larger audience. So this is the agenda for today's training. And for the training series, for the training session today, I'm going to use the Endpoint Central on-premise version running on build 11.3.2428.18 for this presentation purpose. And this application is supported across all the web browsers. So let us start with the overview. What is a unified endpoint management solution? A popular research analyst called Forrester defines UEM as follows. So UEM stands for the Unified Endpoint Management. Products that provide a centralized policy engine for managing and securing employee laptops and mobile devices from a single console. So all your endpoints, it can be a server, a workstation, or mobile devices, a tool which will help you to manage and also provide security for them, all from a centralized tool. So now let's take a look at the Endpoint Central to see how it is called as a unified endpoint management tool. So with our Endpoint Central solution, what are all the objectives that you can achieve in real time in your IT landscape? From the very initial stage of building new devices and provisioning it to the end users, keeping a track of all the applications and hardware changes happening on the assets, keeping the all the devices up to date with any type of OS, Microsoft, third-party, Linux, or Mac patches. So we have our own automation functionality available for keeping them up to date. And on the security side, we have web protection, device compliance, data loss prevention related modules, and even malware protection is inbuilt within the product. So using our Endpoint Central suite of products, we can achieve all these objectives all from a single pane of glass. Now, what are all the different types of devices that we are currently supporting? Your Windows, Mac, Linux operating systems, and apart from that, your laptops, desktops, servers, workstations, any type of mobile devices like Android or iOS, point of sale devices, your web browsers, they're all covered within this Endpoint Central suite. So even if the devices are spread across different topologies and you have mixture of different types of devices, you can see the scope of our Endpoint Central solution when it comes to the management of them. Now, I'm going to talk about the core capabilities of Endpoint Central, which we have divided into 3 segments in here. So on the left-hand side, you see the endpoint management. I would say whatever activities that you're currently performing on a day-to-day, like mundane activities in your IT landscape, such as patching your endpoint devices, installing, uninstalling software based on the end-user requirement, taking remote control of the machine for troubleshooting activities whenever there is a problem, keeping a track of the hardware and software inventory across all the devices, deploying a security baseline to be compliant with proper standards like scripts or configuration deployments. So all these activities, like whatever you're performing on a daily basis in a manual way, can be automated using our functionalities that we support under the endpoint management. And on the other side, we have the endpoint security, where we have functionalities which are mainly focused on locking down your assets, locking down your endpoints. We have functionalities like data loss prevention, application level controlling, so you can restrict the end users from installing or running unauthorized applications on their devices, performing the encryption of the device in case if they get misplaced. You need to ensure that the information doesn't fall onto the wrong hands, and your own vulnerability scanning ability is inbuilt within the tool. So all these functionalities are offered under the endpoint security wing, which is mainly focusing on improving the security compliance standards in your IT landscape. And then we have the end user experience management. Normally, the IT team receive a lot of help desk requests from the employees stating that the device, some of the applications on the device are getting crashed out, or the machine is too slow in the performance, or the disk space is going beyond a certain limit. So instead of waiting for the end user to receive to raise tickets and then handle them, Endpoint Central now offers the performance monitoring functionality is inbuilt within the tool. So the analysis of the performance of the device and the application will be done at the same time. Any type of abnormalities identified will be reported to the administrator. And instead of waiting for the admin to take the action, we do have the self-healing functionality inbuilt within the product. So any type of mitigation that is required will be handled directly from the product, like doing some actions like doing a disk fragmentation of the on the hard disk, or performing some disk cleanup activities to free up the space, and many more. So the self-healing functionality to remediate this problem is also inbuilt in the product now. So Endpoint Central is a combination of all these three things combined together. You have your endpoint management, endpoint security, and end user experience management combined together within the solution. So let's move ahead. So what type of operating system flavors, what service packs are we currently supporting within the tool? All your Windows, Mac, and Linux operating systems are all covered within the solution. So even the latest Mac 15 Sequoia is handled within the tool, and right from Windows 7 to the latest Windows 11, and under the Linux, even to Debian, Red Hat, SUSE, are all covered within the product. Excuse me for a second. Chat panel team, I would request you to mute yourself. Right. Sorry about that. So yes, so in case if you have any questions about the operating systems that we support, or the service packs that we support within the tool, you can put in your question on the chat section. My panel team is available to clarify all your queries, or you can just drop an email to the endpointcentral-support@manageengine.com for any type of further clarifications. So you can see all your bases, your Windows, Mac, and Linux operating systems are all covered. And in case if you have any mobile device platform like Android or iOS devices that you're planning to manage, or if you already have them within your infrastructure, even the mobile device management is also inbuilt within the tool. So let's move on. So why choose Endpoint Central? So we have been talking about the functionalities, the core capabilities, and many more. But why should you choose Endpoint Central for handling your endpoint management and security related functionalities? Customers and users who have been using our tool for a very long time have provided positive feedback on the Gartner platform. And you can see our Endpoint Central solution has been selected as the customer's choice 5 times over the past 7 years duration. So in today's session, we are going to focus on the endpoint security part, where we have divided the security features into reactive security and the proactive security. In the previous day, where we have performed the training session, we have covered all the functionalities focused on the proactive security. And in today's session, we are going to cover the reactive security functionalities. So in Endpoint Central, we offer the features which will help you to build a reactive security mechanism. Say, for example, in case if there is any type of ransomware attack or malware attack happens on your endpoint systems in real time, how quickly the incident will be reported to the administration team. And forensic analysis, like analyzing the issue directly on the web portal and taking preventive mechanisms, are all inbuilt within the solution. And nowadays, majority of the companies are following a hybrid work culture. So for a few days, employees work from home, and for a few days of the week, they come back to the office. So it is a difficult task for the IT administrator to identify the non-compliant machines out there and handle the remediation for them. So in today's session, we are also going to see how you can identify the non-compliant systems and quarantine them using the features inbuilt within the reactive security points. So endpoint security is not one single functionality. It's a combination of 7 different features inbuilt together. So here you have application control, which focuses on the applications running on the endpoint system. So as an IT admin, you can create your own allow and blocklist application group. So you can restrict the end users from running any type of unauthorized applications on their device. You have a vulnerability scanning tool inbuilt within the solution, and device control focuses on all the peripheral devices which are getting connected, browser security, BitLocker management, endpoint DLP, and we're also going to talk about the malware protection, which comes along with the ransomware or anti-ransomware inbuilt within it. So let us talk about these security add-on functionalities by considering a real IT landscape so that you can understand how these features will help you in real time to improve the security compliance within your own IT organizational network. So John is one of our valued customer who have been using our solution for over 10 years and maintains a chain of hotels or across the globe. So John is responsible for managing distributed workforce. So there is a head office from where John works, and majority of the devices are located within the main head office. And there is a data center where servers are currently being hosted. And there are 10 or 20 branch offices across the globe where employees work from, and certain portion of users who connect to the VPN and do their day-to-day activities. And there are also the remote users, the roaming users who work over the internet. So apart from this, John also is responsible for managing the mobile device platform like Android or iOS. So it's a distributed workforce, like devices are spread across the globe. John is responsible to ensure that a proper security standard compliance or a strategy to apply these security policies to be implemented in such a typical landscape. So to break down this infrastructure to focus on the deployment of the security policy, I would say John should focus on handling 2 types of users. The first type, people who work by connecting to the VPN. So there is no problem, there is no challenge in the connection between the endpoint and the central server. But there is a challenge in terms of bandwidth in this scenario. And the other type of users, where users work remotely, like user can be working from home, sitting in a library, or working from a cafeteria. But John should also take care of applying security policies onto them. So the challenge here in managing the remote workforce or remote users is the connectivity between the end device and the endpoint central server. This can be achieved with the help of a secure gateway component. Let me take you to the architecture diagram to help you understand how does a secure gateway work. So in John's organizational, as you have seen in the diagram before, Endpoint Central application is running in the internal main head office, and there are a large set of users who are currently working from home. So this is where the secure gateway add-on component will come into the picture. You can install the secure gateway component in your DMZ environment on a Windows-based asset. And you can map your public FQDN to this secure gateway server installed device. So any incoming request from the assets present outside the head office environment, the machines will reach out to the public FQDN, and the request will be validated by the secure gateway. only after all the validations are successfully completed, Secure Gateway will deliver the request back to the Endpoint Central server running in the internal office. The purpose of Secure Gateway here is mainly to manage the remote users. At the same time, without compromising the security, here in this environment, Endpoint Central server will always remain in the internal office and will not be exposed onto the internet. So this is how in the on-premise model, irrespective of where the machines are located, inside the office or in a different branch offices or people working from home, you can manage all the machines even over the internet too. But in case, if you don't wish to dedicate additional resources for hosting the secure gateway component, we do have one more option, which is the Endpoint Central available in the cloud model. So Endpoint Central is available in both the on-premise as well as the SaaS version, where in the SaaS version, the devices can communicate with the cloud server directly over the internet. So there is no VPN dependency. There is no need for you to onboard or install any additional resources within your organization. All the communications between the client and the cloud server hosted from our end will be done over the internet. So this is how in both on-prem version and the SaaS version, you are in a position to manage all the distributed workforce, everything from a centralized location. So let's go back into the presentation slides. So let's start with the first module within the reactive security measures, which is focused on the data protection. So there are a couple of use cases what John is trying to achieve. One of them is only the enterprise-owned peripheral devices like USB pen drives or USB sticks should only be allowed to connect on the end-user system. Anything apart from that should be restricted. And apart from only allowing the trusted devices, only the PDF and the doc file formats should be allowed to transfer from the computer to the external USB stick. So let us go into the product console to show you how John can achieve these functionalities or achieve these use cases with the features supported within the tool. So device control, this functionality offers the IT administrator a complete visibility on what devices are getting connected on the end user system, for how long they have been used. So you'll have complete audit and monitoring ability on what is going on the endpoint machines. So with this monitoring data, it is a very simple task for John to build a trusted group within the solution. Since John has the inventory details about what devices are connected so far on the endpoint machine, John has to simply verify if this SanDisk Corp pen drive is owned by the IT organization or by the company. If yes, John can simply select the devices and create a trusted group within the solution. So let me give this a proper name. So once the trusted devices are selected, John can further navigate to the policy creation page and start creating a policy. And it's not just the removable storage device. One of the benefits of using Endpoint Central device control is around 15 to 18 different device types are supported. Your removable storage devices, mobile phones, printers, Bluetooth adapters, smart card readers, cameras with USB-based functionalities, and up to the level of keyboard and mouse can be controlled with one single policy applied. So against the removable storage device, John can select only allow the trusted devices and select the USB test group, what we have created. So this will help John to achieve one of the use cases mentioned. And the other use case was only to allow .pdf and doc file formats for transferring outside the computer. So under the advanced file access settings, John can specify what file formats alone should be allowed for transferring outside the organization. If the end user attempts to transfer any file which is of a different format, automatically the tool is going to block the activity from happening. And apart from this, let's say John wants to see what information is present in that PDF file, which is allowed to transfer outside the computer. We do have the file shadow functionality supported in our on-premise model, wherein in real time, when the file is getting transferred outside the computer, agent will take a replica, a copy of the exact file, and upload to this network share path defined. So John can access this network share path anytime down the line and open the same PDF file and see what information was present in that PDF file which got transferred outside the computer. So this is how file shadowing ability is supported within the tool, which will help the IT administrator to get a proper visibility on what information is getting transferred outside. So one single policy to completely control all these different device types. And any type of unauthorized activity happens, someone tries to plug in a USB or a mobile phone, but it is getting restricted, administrator can be immediately notified about the incident. So which computer, which user, what type of device they were trying to gain access to will be generated within the email. And on the end user machine, you can customize what type of block message should be displayed. And in case if the end user is in real need to access that specific pen drive, they can raise a temporary access request to the administrator. So administrator John will get an email notification. So John can access the temporary access section and verify which computer, which user is trying to gain access to what specific device. And John can decide if this is a valid request, for how long the temporary access should be enabled, and this temporary access can be deployed immediately. So on the end user machine, once the temporary access is deployed, a proper prompt will be displayed on the end user screen. And as the time period expires, let's say John is allowing temporary access for 8 hours of time. Once the 8 hours window is done, end user will be notified about the temporary access once it gets revoked on the endpoint machine. So this is how, and device control is a very simple but comprehensive tool to give John a complete visibility on what devices are getting connected, and also provide the ability to restrict the end users from connecting unauthorized peripheral devices. So let's go back to the product presentation. And let's see the next module, which is the endpoint DLP. So John has some sensitive information present on the endpoint systems. So let's say in this particular case, credit card information. So John is trying to ensure that wherever the credit card information is present on any of the file on the endpoints, the file remains protected from any type of data leakage. So again, let's go back to the portal to show you how John can achieve this endpoint DLP objective in real time using our product. So endpoint DLP, data loss prevention. So endpoint DLP is more of a content-based assessment tool in our product, which focuses on identifying where exactly the sensitive information is present on the endpoint system. And someone tries to exfiltrate the sensitive data outside the computer. So there are a lot of different ways to exfiltrate the sensitive data, right? So end user can take a screenshot of the sensitive file, or take a print of the sensitive data, copy to removable storage device, upload to the third-party websites, or send it as an email attachment. So whatever possible ways for the information to get transferred outside the computer will be restricted using our endpoint DLP. But I keep repeating the same word, we protect the sensitive data. But what is sensitive data for John? What is sensitive data for you? So sensitive data will be varying from each and every organization, right? So for John, it is credit card information in this scenario. So first, John should create a data rule defining what is sensitive. So we have some predefined templates already inbuilt within the product, which John can make direct use of. So if John is from the finance sector, where bank account numbers should be protected, John can select. So this is going to be a criteria for our solution to go ahead and scan all the files present on the system, wherever whatever file which contains the information which matches with the specific regex pattern or keyword, that file will be automatically marked as sensitive by our tool. And similarly, let's say if you're from the government sector, where you have to protect the citizens' data, personal information is available within the product, like social security numbers, email address, IP address, passport numbers can be selected within the tool. Driving license number also is available. So these are all predefined templates within the product, which based on the organizational background, the parameters can be selected. So similarly, we have health-related information like insurance numbers. If you're from a software developing company, programming files which are made out of C, C++, Java, Python programming languages can be selected. So the validation in the backend to identify the presence of sensitive data will vary from one parameter to other. So in case of the bank account numbers, it was a regex pattern. But in the C programming files, it's based on the extensions. And in case, if you want to create a rule or create a criteria, which is completely outside the scope of the parameters. Let me select the credit card information in here, which John was trying to achieve using the objective. Let me give this a name. Right. So if there is a requirement outside this boundary, as an administrator, you can create your own custom rule where you can input your own regex pattern and some additional keywords, which will be used for assessment on the endpoint system. If you want to avoid any type of plagiarisms from happening, so you want to perform a DNA-based scanning of all the files present on the endpoint, you can upload a reference file and define the number of words that match. Like if more than 50 words or if more than 60 words match, automatically mark the other file on the system as sensitive. So apart from this, we do have document matching where you can upload a reference file. If more than 40% of the content matches, automatically the other file should be protected. So you have both the options to choose the parameters based on the predefined templates available within the product. And also you can create your own custom rules as well. So once the rule is ready, you can deploy the rule onto your target machines. You go to policy deployment, associate policy, and choose the group of machines. And you can select multiple rules to be applied onto the same target devices. Now, as I mentioned, agent will go ahead and scan all the files present on the Windows devices. Whatever file contains the sensitive data will be automatically detected and marked. Anyone attempts to perform any type of activity on these sensitive files can be restricted. Some of the areas where we support the restriction or data leakage prevention is file access. So you can limit the end users from accessing the sensitive file only using a specific trusted application. So for example, if John uses Office 365 within the environment for accessing the files, if anyone attempts to open the sensitive file using an application which is not defined in this list, automatically a block message will be displayed. So this is how a sample screenshot will look like. So in this scenario, the end user tried to open a sensitive file using Notepad. But since Notepad is not in the trusted category, automatically a block message will be displayed on the end user screen. And clipboard restrictions will be applied. End user will be restricted from taking a screenshot of the screen when the sensitive file is opened in the background. In the email client, we are currently supporting the native Outlook. So anyone tries to send the sensitive data as an attachment or as part of the subject line or in the body of the email, our agent will go ahead and scan all the mail content, and wherever there is any sensitive data present, automatically the email will be restricted and a block message will be displayed on the end user screen. And similarly, we do have the file upload restriction. File upload does not restrict or does not limit only to the web browsers. Let's say in your IT landscape, if you're using Teams for internal communication, you have the option to drag and drop of files in the Teams chat. So even such activity will be considered as an upload. Before the attachment or before the upload happens, our agent will scan the file, and if the file contains sensitive data, the file will be restricted from getting uploaded onto the destination. And copying to the removable storage devices and printing of the sensitive data can also be restricted. So this is how John can create a rule by selecting the credit card information and apply the data restriction policies to stop the end users from exfiltrating the sensitive data outside the computer. So let's go back to the presentation slides. Next up is the handling of the non-compliant machines, right? The same example which I've given earlier, the hybrid work culture, which is being followed by every organization. So John has to ensure that whatever devices that are coming within the office boundary and connecting to the office network are compliant enough. So for John, there are two specific security standards which every machine should satisfy. One of them is on each and every machine, EDR service should always be running. And at the same time, no machine should have any type of OS critical patch pending for more than 30 days of time. So let us go ahead and see how this can be achieved using our solution. Let me plug the battery for my laptop. Just a quick second. Sorry about that. All right. So let us go ahead and see how these non-compliant systems can be handled using the Endpoint Central product. So in the vulnerability assessment, under threats and patches, we do have the compliance module available, wherein John can define the security baseline by creating a policy where the first condition would be the EDR service, right? The service, which is named EDR, in case if it is not running on the endpoint system. And then one more condition would be to, if there is any OS patch, which is critical in severity, released before 30 days of time, but still yet to be installed on the endpoints. So on top of these two conditions, John can also add more number of criteria, like if there is any vulnerability, which is having a CVSS score more than 7, such type of machines should be automatically quarantined. So apart from that, identification of a registry path, registry value, file, folder can also be defined. So these compliance scanning or assessment will be continuously done on all the endpoint system. On any machine which is found to be non-compliant, the IT administrator, John, can receive an email of all such type of devices out there, or John can also take the quarantine option, wherein the entire network access of such non-compliant systems can be restricted, or only block access to the intranet range. In case if John maintains a separate sandbox network, which is different from the production network, John can allow the non-compliant systems to only connect to some specific IP range or VPN gateways. So the non-compliant machines will not be allowed to connect to the corporate network, but even in the quarantine state, the connection between the client and the Endpoint Central server will remain intact, meaning John can use the patch management module to take care of updating the operating system or the application on the endpoints. John can take remote control of the machine directly from the Endpoint Central tool, and then restart the EDR service on the device, or delete the unwanted files or the registry value from the machine. So the connection between the client and our Endpoint Central application will stay intact, so that John will have a platform to handle the mitigation for the non-compliant systems in real time. So that is how the use cases can be achieved for handling the non-compliant systems using our Endpoint Central tool. Next up is the BitLocker management. Let's take the same remote work culture as an example in here. Employees are traveling to the office and going back home. Let's say during the travel time, the device got misplaced. Now, John is responsible to ensure that even if the device gets lost or misplaced, the information present on the machine should not be falling into the wrong hands. Of course, the third-party person will not know the login credentials, so they cannot get into the device. But there is a possibility they can remove the hard disk from the machine and connect that hard disk to some other device and get their hands on the sensitive data. So let's go ahead and see how Endpoint Central helps John using the BitLocker management functionality, wherein the advantage of using our BitLocker management is machines which have the TPM, machines which don't have the TPM chip, and even workgroup devices can all be encrypted using our solution. And the recovery key that gets generated post encryption will also be stored on our Endpoint Central portal. So whenever there is any emergency, in case if the end user is unable to log into the device because they forgot their BitLocker password, administrator John can log into the portal and fetch the recovery key very quickly. So it's very simple to create a policy within our BitLocker management, and we do have multiple authentication methods available, so TPM and PIN or enhanced PIN, or just do a silent encryption without having any type of prompt to be displayed on the end user machine. And the best part is the recovery key will be rotated automatically for security reason. And in case if the machines are attached to the Azure AD or the on-prem AD, the recovery key will also be stored or updated to the respective directory services. So admin John can fetch the recovery key from two different sources whenever there is any emergency in real time. And in terms of the end user experience, if John wants to add one more security layer on top of the normal login authentication process, TPM and PIN or TPM and enhanced PIN can be selected, wherein once the policy gets applied, end user will first receive a prompt similar to this called the BitLocker Password Manager. End user can set up the password of their own choice. They have to remember this password so that moving forward, whenever the machine is restarted, end user will receive this blue screen where they have to enter the BitLocker PIN or BitLocker password, what they have configured earlier. And at this stage, if the end user forget their BitLocker password, admin John is available for help. So end user can reach out to the administrator, and admin can fetch the recovery key directly from the portal and help the end user. So if the end user is still stuck on the screen, they can click on the escape button, which will take them to the BitLocker recovery page. So end user will get the recovery key from John and enter it in here. So end user will be allowed to log into the system. So this is how BitLocker encryption will help IT administrators like John to ensure that all the machines, all the Windows platform in their organization are completely encrypted. Let's go back to the presentation slides. So this is a screenshot what we have seen earlier. Now, in case if you have any Mac operating system flavors being used, it is also necessary and important to encrypt them too. So let me take you back into the Endpoint Central portal to show you how you can encrypt your Mac devices using the file vault encryption functionality available. So firewall encryption falls under the mobile device management category. So when we talk about mobile device management, it's not just your Android or iOS devices. Even the modern operating system flavors like Windows 10, Windows 11, and even Mac operating systems can be managed. So once you install our Endpoint Central agent software onto your Windows and Mac devices, they will get automatically enrolled into the MDM platform as well. So there is no need for you to perform any additional enrollment process. So for the Mac devices, admin John can navigate to the management profile section and create a profile for the Mac OS devices, where one of the functionality is the file vault encryption, where encryption of the Mac devices can be done using a personal recovery key. So the recovery key will be different for each and every machine, and the recovery key will be stored within the Endpoint Central portal. Or John can use the institutional recovery key method, where the encryption of the devices will be done using a common certificate uploaded by John onto the portal. Or it can be a combination of both the personal and the certificate that can be used for the encryption. So the benefit of having Endpoint Central is, since the tool supports all the heterogeneous operating system flavors, both your Windows and Mac device encryption is supported within the tool. Now going back to the presentation, next is the mobile threat defense. So Endpoint Central now supports integration with a third-party mobile threat defense tool, which is called Checkpoint Harmony Mobile. So using the Checkpoint console, administrator can define a set of baselines. So these baselines will be validated against all the mobile devices to categorize the mobiles into high risk, medium, and low risk category. And some of these parameters that can be defined for validation would be if the device is a rooted phone, or if the OS version is running on lower versions, like not running on the latest one, if password policy is not configured properly, if a screen lock is not enabled, if the communication is not encrypted. So based on the requirement, admin can set the baseline to consider which will be used for assessment on the mobile phones in real time. So Checkpoint does the assessment, and using the integration between the Checkpoint and the Endpoint Central, these three categories, the high risk, medium, and low risk group of machines will be updated to the Endpoint Central mobile device management, where Endpoint Central, with the help of this integration, offers the mitigation for the vulnerable devices. Let's say if the device is running on older Android version or iOS version, we do have the automate OS updates profile that can be applied for both Android and iOS. So whenever there is an OS update available, the tool can automatically update the version on the endpoint systems. Right? And in case if there is any unauthorized application running on the system, the inventory information can be fetched and the application can be added to the blocked category. So wherever there is a deviation due to which the mobiles are getting flagged as high risk and medium risk, Endpoint Central offers the mitigation. It can be with the help of a profile distribution, or it can be using the help of other functionalities available in the tool. So that is how not just the Windows and Mac operating systems, even the threat assessment on your mobile phones can be done using the help of integration with Checkpoint in real time. Next comes the geofencing. So let's take a use case in here to understand more about this. John has a warehouse in one of the branch offices where the goods come in and go out. So there is an Android tablet in the reception area, and the main purpose for using the tablet is to only mark the check-in and check-out for the employees. So in no scenario, there is no need to take the tablet outside the reception office. So in case if the device gets misplaced, John wants to receive an alert about the location of the device immediately. So now let's go ahead and see how this geofencing policy can be implemented using our Endpoint Central. So within the mobile device management, there is a functionality called fence repository. So John wants to create a fence for the reception office. So I'll go to the create fence. And anywhere on the map, I can drop the pin and I can specify, let's say 500 meters. I'll give it a name. So the repository is ready. Similarly, if John has multiple warehouses in different branches or in different locations, multiple fence repositories can be created. And now, in case if a device gets misplaced, John is going to create a policy stating that when a device is not within the boundary, within the John test repository that I've created, the first action should be immediately notify the administrator. And then after a day, if required, John can also take the next action step after a day of time, take the action to enable lost mode or even perform the remote wiping functionality. So whatever data is present on the tablet will be completely wiped out. So this is how the geofencing policy will ensure that the mobile devices do not go outside the boundary, and in case if they go outside the boundary or the device gets misplaced, it is under the control of the admin John to get notified instantly and at the same time take the action to wipe out the data for security reasons. So this is how geofencing is supported for both the Android and the iOS platforms. Next up is the malware protection. So the malware protection in Endpoint Central has 3 different engines which work together. The first engine is the anti-ransomware, our own AI-powered ransomware detection tool. If any process running on the system is doing an encryption activity of any files or folders, our agent will immediately terminate that process on the local endpoint machine and report the incident to the administrator for the forensic analysis. So once the administrator performs the forensic analysis, and if it is determined as a true positive, we have our own tamper-proof backup available from where the files will be restored back onto the system. And apart from the anti-ransomware tool, there are 2 more engines running in the background. One of them is the deep AV engine, so deep learning antivirus. So our own machine learning based neural networks model that we have built from the scratch. We have fed this machine learning tool with some millions of malware executables, some genuine process, some unknown process, for the tool to study the behavior. So in real time, whenever any process performs some activity, the characteristics of that process will be assessed by our deep AV engine, and it will take a decision to flag the process as a malware or not. And the true positive detection is now about 98.5%. And then the behavior detection engine, wherein mid-rate tactics are inbuilt within the tool, wherein instead of waiting for the output to flag a process as a malware or ransomware, the behavior analysis will be done by our solution. So if any process is going into a different directory and trying to read some files or read some sensitive data, based on the pattern or based on the behavior that is currently doing, the process will be flagged as a malware by our behavior detection engine. Now let me show you a demonstration video on how this malware detection happens in real time. Let's say John is now logging into the Endpoint Central portal, no incidents reported, all good, and one device is currently being managed. Whenever any incident happens, the tool has the ability to notify John both over email as well as the mobile app notification. And 3 detection engines running together: ransomware detection engine, deep AV, and the behavior detection engine. Now, on one of the end user machine, some abnormal activity is happening. So on the right-hand side, you look at the task manager. The services related to our EDR are running actively, and even the files are in normal access mode. So this is an outpatient form. It is in normal accessible mode. The end user is running an exe on the system. As you can see immediately, if any process is found to be bound with some malware or ransomware, our agent will immediately detect it and flag that process in real time. And the incident will also be reported to the administrator. So in case if the exe has a payload with included with the ransomware, all the files present on the system will start to get encrypted. Now in this case, some of the files got encrypted, which were in normal mode previously, are no longer accessible by the end user. Sometimes it can be a single ransomware, or the payload can be a combination of ransomware and malware, planted together. It all depends on how the hackers program that specific exe. Now, as the files are encrypted, immediately, as the agent has flagged the process, the incident will be reported to the administrator. Now, admin John is responsible for doing the forensic analysis. So what process has been flagged, on how many systems there was an impact in real time. John should now do the forensic analysis by clicking on the exe. We'll fetch the full summary information about that exe, like who owns this exe, which corporation, which company, what is its SHA-256 value, whether it is digitally signed by any vendor, and what is the exact reason why did this process get flagged as a ransomware or a malware, will also be available within the tool. So in this case, as you can see under the history, the exe was trying to read a file, which is the safe browsing cookies on the Microsoft Edge browser. So based on the operation it was trying to do, it was flagged as a ransomware or a malware by the behavior detection engine. And until John does the forensic analysis of this incident, the affected system can also be quarantined from the network. So make sure that the damage that happened or the incident that happened is limited to one device alone, and the affected device is not allowed to connect to the corporate network. And after doing all the forensic analysis, in case if it is found to be a true positive, John is going to mark it accordingly. So whatever new changes that happen on the system, some programmers design a software or design an exe so that when it is executed, it will randomly place some files in different directories, so that these files will act like a backdoor for the attackers to take leverage of next time when they try to initiate an attack. So they don't have to start from the beginning again. There is always a backdoor available within the computer. So whatever changes that happened on the system from the point the exe got executed will be completely cleaned up. And even the files which got encrypted on the machine in real time can be restored back again. So how do we perform this restoration? We have our own tamper-proof backup mechanism inbuilt within the product. So we initiate the volume shadow service, the VSS backup copy, once in every 3 hours of time. So right before the incident, whatever backup copy that was generated will be protected by our solution. So we have a couple of patents for this technology that we use for protecting the volume shadow service backup copy in real time on the devices. So from the tamper-proof protected backup copy, whatever files that got encrypted on the machine will be restored back again. So that is what is currently happening in this scenario. So the time taken for the restoration depends on the number of files which got encrypted in real time. So as you can see, the files are now restored and they are in accessible format. So this is how John can ensure that using our malware protection functionality, any type of ransomware incident, any type of malware attack that happens on the endpoint system, any type of change that is performed on the system due to the malware execution will be completely cleaned up, and any type of data loss that happened, any type of encryption that happened will be restored back again. So no data loss, no need to pay any ransom to the third-party attacker. So that is how the malware protection functionality in Endpoint Central will help the IT administrator, John, in real time with the help of these three engines: the anti-ransomware, the deep AV engine, and the behavior detection engine will work together as a stack to protect the devices from any type of malware attacks. And there is no policy that needs to be applied. All you have to do is go to the malware protection and activate it within your environment, and the agents will acknowledge this new functionality. Any type of abnormal activities that happen, the incident will be reported by the agent to the administrator portal. So in this case, the svc host.exe has been flagged up. And what is the reason? When you look at the summary, it was trying to read the cookies folder within the Microsoft Edge directory. So based on the behavior analysis, we are going to flag the process as well. So going back to the presentation, the FAQ. So we have discussed about all the reactive security measures within the product, and it's time for discussing a couple of frequently asked questions. First is, will the next-gen antivirus be included part of the security edition or need to be brought separately? So the malware protection module will be an add-on on top of the security edition. And to better answer your question, as I mentioned earlier, malware protection is not a single tool. It's there are three different engines running together within the product: the ransomware detection engine, deep AV, and the behavior analysis. The anti-ransomware engine or the tool or the functionality has been matured enough. It has been stabilized for a very long time, and it is available to purchase as an add-on on top of your existing security edition. But the next-gen antivirus, though, it is still in the early access mode, so you can utilize this in real time. You can test it. But before you make a decision to bring it into the licensing model, you'll be notified on the portal about the duration until which you can make use of this early access. So the anti-ransomware is available for purchase as an add-on on top of the security edition, and the next-gen antivirus is something which is still in the early access mode. And the next question would be, what makes the difference? So what are the additional features available in the next-gen antivirus compared with our traditional AV? So you have seen there are three different engines running together like a stack, and many traditional AV available on the market lacks the behavior detection engine to analyze the behavior of a process to flag it as a ransomware or a malware. That is one. And then the tamper-proof backup technology that I have mentioned, which will be used for restoring the files of the encrypted files on the endpoint system, is one of the game-changing differences between our malware protection tool and the next-gen antivirus. And whenever there is an incident, the device can be quarantined to ensure that the damage control will be done only to some specific devices. All right, so I believe we have crossed the actual time given for the webinar. So we are in the live Q&A session. Let me see from the chat section if there are any questions that can be addressed. All right, so we have a question about the endpoint DLP. Is it available the separate piece, or is it an add-on? So if you're already using the Endpoint Central solution in your premises, you can get the DLP functionality as an add-on. So DLP is currently supported in the on-premise edition of Endpoint Central. Pretty soon, you can expect it to be released in the cloud model too. So there is no need for you to purchase the standalone DLP when you already have Endpoint Central. And there is a question about if there is a way to go back and review the webinar. Yes, the entire webinar session is recorded. So you'll be receiving the recorded version of this training session over to your registered email. And we have a question about whether the comparison can be done with our next-gen AV and ESET and Kaspersky. The benefit of using our evaluate our next-gen antivirus in real time is it can coexist with your existing antivirus. So I would recommend everyone to go ahead and test it in your environment beside the existing AV solution to see its capabilities. All right. I believe we have crossed the time, but we do have our chat panel team available. So I would request every participant, if you have any more questions, please do post it on our live chat, and my panel team will be available for the next 10 to 20 minutes of time, and all your queries will be addressed. Next step would be, so in case if you're positive about our free training series, please do spread a word on the social networking platforms. And next training session, which is scheduled on Feb 5, will be focused on the application management in real time. So any type of application onboarding, how you can manage the app deployment in your legacy and modern operating systems. And I know that we have covered the salient features within the endpoint security, but if you would like to take a proper close look on all the security add-on functionalities, we are happy to schedule a personalized demo for you. You can visit the URL mentioned on this slide, or you can put in your request on the chat section. My team will further engage with you, connect with you to schedule a dedicated demo session on the endpoint security features. And thank you so much for joining this webinar session today. It was good talking to you guys, and I hope this session was informative. Please do rate the webinar on a scale of 1 to 5, where 5 is the best. Thank you again, everyone. See you next week.